Hello, and welcome to that Eurovision podcast, Eurovision with a slice of life. My name is Rory, and I'm doing pretty well today. I've just come back from a lovely walk outside, which it was very windy, and now it's kind of raining profusely, so I guess I'm kind of lucky in that sense. But I'm very excited to talk about this episode just because it's a recurring theme that we continuously come back to in many of the previous podcasts, so it's actually good to just kind of get it all out and get all of the opinions out. And joining me,
Jazzy, it's been quite a productive day here. I've been cleaning my flat, so at the moment feeling quite tired, but really excited for the topic we are talking about today because it's probably my favourite topic. A topic I tend to bring up quite a lot.
as well we've seen.
Hi, it's Rosie. I have had today off work, so I am very relaxed and very happy. And I am incredibly excited to talk about what we're going to be talking about today. I've just gone back and scrolled through my Twitter because I've gone and found my commentary from this weekend's Eurovision again to be a hint for what we're going to be talking about.
All right, then. Hi, guys. It's Tim here. Just finished work as well. Same with Rosie. I am feeling quite relaxed. And I'm so happy because this topic that we're talking about means a lot to me. And it's when I've gone full on crazy with Eurovision experience. So I am going to leave Rory to take it away.
Take it away. Take it away. Take it away.
Take it away.
No. Well, as if you couldn't have possibly guessed from what Rosie alluded to, this week's topic, we're going to be taking a look at what was previously just last week's Eurovision again, and we're going to be reviewing the year of 2018, the Lisbon year, all aboard, and practically the only topic we ever seem to kind of continuously come back to on this podcast. So,
it's a running joke, isn't it? It's a running joke.
It is, but I feel like we had to kind of say something about it. We had to do an episode about it sometime soon, otherwise we'd just explode. So I think it's probably the best idea. So 2018 was held in Lisbon in Portugal after Salvador Sobral's win in Kiev the previous year, and it was won by Netta with Toy from Israel. So yeah, just kind of kicking things off, what was your kind of overall impression of the show? Like, kind of looking back on it now, how do you think it stands now compared to other years?
I mean, for 2018, it was my second Eurovision, and it was the one where I've attended 8 out of the 9 available shows. Pour my wallet.
Wow.
I also had fan accreditation, so I also watched the rehearsal. So I had 3 more, so about 11 out of 12. Not tired at all.
Wow.
But yeah, but I will say this. Despite this being Portugal's first time hosting the Eurovision Song Contest, they've done well. And given the fact that they've never had any experience with it, they've done a good job. And they've managed to basically let most of the acts think outside the box in terms of staging because there was no LED. And
aside from Moldova, who thought very much in the box.
Literally out of the box. And also, with everything else, I love the theme. I love the location. It was nice to have some sort of sunny weather near the beach kind of thing. And I love, I'd say, about 50% of the hosts.
Only 50%? Oh!
I'm so sorry, Sylvia and Katarina. I think Daniela and Filomena could have done it on their own. Probably shouldn't say that, but they've done their best and they've done it quite well. But as an overall package for me, it was the best week of my life, even though I was exhausted by the end of it.
How could you be completely wrecked by the end of a Eurovision week? It's impossible.
I really enjoyed 2018. I feel like it's like the first year where I started to get involved with like events just outside of Eurovision, like attending pre-parties and stuff like that. And because it's the first year I went to Eurovision in concert, so 2018 is like a year that's very close to my heart because I feel like it's a year I started to integrate more with the fandom. Like I've been in the fandom since 2014, but yeah, I feel like 2018 was like the year that got me dragged into the Euro fan bubble the most. And I feel like largely to do with the songs, but also the show was really, really good. The only thing that maybe wasn't as no, I don't want to say wasn't as good, but like I don't think they needed four hosts. Like sometimes it felt like there was a lack of chemistry sometimes. I'm not quite sure. I think Philomena was a great host though, and if Portugal were to ever win again anytime soon, I would love to have her back because she was funny and it felt very natural. So yeah, like as a group of songs, I would say that 2018 is just probably my favourite year. Definitely in the past decade anyway. So yeah.
I was thinking the other day about what my sort of general ranking of the years were, particularly focusing on sort of song quality and things like that. And I put 2018 as my third place, but I really, really like it. I just think there were a couple of really strong years in the last decade, but I think almost all of the songs still stand up really, really well. When they were being played at Eurovision again, I was just having the sort of an absolute ball what all of these were like. It was also my first year really being heavily involved in the fandom, so that was lovely to look back on. It was mine and my partner's first year hosting a Eurovision party together, which was great. And there are just so many wonderful things about this year that I feel so happy to be looking back on. There are some really great songs. There are some things that really remind me just why I love this contest so much. As far as the hosting goes and the general concept, I think the really big thing for me that I want to take away from 2018, and I did tweet about this on the night, I really would like, just every so often, I'd really like a year without the LEDs, because as Tim said, it really encouraged some really creative and interesting staging. And I've mentioned this on Twitter, and I will point out I got a really nice comment from Robin Gallagher, who I think is at Robin ESC, and she said, yes, just remember the money aspect, which is one of the reasons why I'd say don't have not LEDs every year. Yes, that is something that is worth keeping in mind, but from a creativity point of view, there were some incredible stagings this year. There were some bits that were so beautiful and some bits that were so creative. And I think that brought a whole different way of joy to the contest. And as much as I dislike where it came from with the whole music is feeling, not fireworks thing,
And
the way
fireworks
it was actually implemented was lovely.
I'll just say, cue the fireworks in 2018. Like a lot of pyro everywhere, left, right, and center.
There was a lot of pyro.
The top two literally had fireworks like all the time.
And I think Hungary blew their budget on fireworks alone.
I'm not surprised. Like,
which worked for them, to be honest.
oh, but
imagine being in that golden circle, sweetie.
Oh my! I mean, it would blow your whole eardrums out. I don't know how people still had like hearing after that. Just like
yeah,
boom,
no, it was too
boom.
loud. It was too loud.
But nah, 2018, I always have like really, really fond memories of 2018 just because it was the first year that I'd sort of watched the contest on my own because I was just in my first year of university, so I wasn't necessarily, because it was usually like a sort of an annual tradition for me to watch it with my mum. And so it was sort of the first year that I was watching it without her. So it was kind of nostalgic, I guess, but it was also the first year I had like a proper Eurovision party. Everybody got absolutely blasted. It was fantastic. It was like, because at my parties I usually have a thing where I managed to get this idea from one of my friend James at Jameson Sayer, and he had this concept that he had 42 43 shots of vodka or any sort of spirit, and then you were given a country, and if that country got 12 points, then you'd have to take a shot. Now, obviously, you don't want to be the one getting, like, lots of 12 points, for example, like Portugal in 2017, or Sweden in 2018, or Italy in 2019. So, otherwise, it just gets very messy. But it was a really, really good year, and I have a lot of really fond memories of it. In terms of the songs, like, I think so many of the songs still stand up today. I still consistently go back to 2018 songs, and I feel like a lot of them still stand today. Like, they don't seem to age very badly, with the exception of one or two, but we'll get onto that in a minute. But yeah, I just really enjoyed, like, the overall concept. I did kind of get a bit confused, though, about the whole concept of All Aboard, because I don't know if it's the same with you guys, but when I think of All Aboard, I think of trains, not necessarily of boats. But is that just me, or, like, am I...
It's a 50-50 for me. Yeah, it's a 50-50.
Yeah, it's just because, like, I'd never heard of, like, All Aboard on a boat before, and I was a bit like, like, what? But
if you if you think it's bad that 2018 got All Aboard, imagine how the Dutch broadcasters felt when they picked Ahoy as the host.
Ahoy hoy! They should have done All Aboard. That would have been amazing. Yeah. But yeah, overall, like, the whole, like, concept of the stage, I think, was fantastic. I think the way that, like, Portugal hosted the competition, I think, as well, was fantastic. I think they put on a really professional, really slick, polished show. And you know what? Like, okay, I can agree with Tim in the sense that Katarina was a little bit kind of here and there. But with Sylvia, Filomena, and Daniela, I think they did fantastically. I think 2 to 3 hosts, I think, is usually, like, the optimum level of hosts that you can have on a show. Because if you have too many, then it gets a little bit kind of, as well we've seen in 2015.
The thing is that they have the running gag with, like, hosts. If it's more than if it's like 3 or 4 hosts, they're kind of making this jokes like, yeah, you can tell this was pre-recession because there were 4 hosts.
They had it all. They had it everything. But yeah, so kind of coming onto the songs, like, we'll just do, like, a quick top 3.
My third place is Lithuania with EA versus Mousekite and When We're Old. This song just really got me in the feels when I first heard it. Okay, I was like, fine, okay, it got me sentimental. But when I saw the staging on the arena, I cried. When I first saw it, the way it's supposed to look with, like, the footage and the graphic overlay of, like, the kid and, like, them when the husband and wife are, like, old, and, like, I'm sobbing here. I was literal tears. And I'm really gutted because at the time of recording, Eva and her husband are separated, and I'm kind of sad about that. But yeah, it still has a special place to my heart. I still follow Eva's music, and I'm just hoping for the best for her and wishing her well in her future.
We love you, Eva.
Yeah.
I love you.
My second place would be Finland, because I knew how much Sarah's worked for, and I knew how long it took her to get to where she is, and I really like that determination for her. In, you know, even times where the odds were against her, if she even going to qualify. And that's what I really liked about her, that she didn't really give up. She was really perseverant. And on top of preparing for Eurovision, she was doing tours. She released her debut album. She was doing X Factor Finland on top of that. So she was really a superwoman. And I really loved her for that. And my winner, surprise, surprise, would be, of course, Eleni and Fuego and Do the Hair Flip. Like, I mean, I have nothing else to say other than that she deserved that crown. Shame on you, Europe. I mean, as much as I love Netta and I love the meaning of toy and the movement that it did, but I like the fact that people were overlooking it, and then when we got to Lisbon, it just suddenly went fuego. I was like, okay, and I agree with that, and it looked sleek and amazing. And I just hope that she comes back and takes the crown, snatch it off someone else.
Oh, are we planting a seed here, Tim? I see what you're doing.
Yeah. We're planting
Yeah, it's like,
seeds.
Elaine, if you're listening, please do come back. We miss you already.
We love you, Eleni.
So my third place in 2018 is Ireland, Rhino Shaughnessy together.
Oh, thank you.
I just think
Oh,
that staging is amazing. And again, it's one of those stagings that I don't know why, but it really hit me in the feels. But so did the music video when it first came out. You can tell that the staging is very much based on the music video with the two guys dancing together. And I just think that's absolutely beautiful. Also, again, I think prior to getting on stage in Lisbon, this song was very much overlooked and very much seen as it probably in that semi qualify just because it's so strong. And the fact that he was the last qualifier as well, I just feel like in 2018 that's probably my favourite moment, because Ireland hadn't qualified for the final since 2013 either, and they weren't expected to qualify in 2018, and they did. And it was just an amazing moment to watch. So I'll move on to my second place, which is Ukraine. Melvin
Oh.
Underwater.
Melvin.
No. I just fell in love with the staging and the concept and the song in the national final. I know there were some issues with the diction, especially in the live performance. However, for me, that doesn't really matter because the song is a banger. And yeah, I understand why he came last with the juries, particularly the diction, and some people thought the staging was a little over the top, but for me that doesn't matter. It's just the type of song that I absolutely love to see at Eurovision, and I think Ukraine took a risk. And it kind of paid off because they did still come top 10 in the televote, so it wasn't all lost in Lisbon. But yeah. And then my first, which I have to agree with, not agree with Tim because it's not my, but my first is Sarah Alto and Monsters, and I definitely share the same sentiment as Tim, whereas Sarah worked really hard to get to where she is, from being in the national final in 2016 to doing X Factor in the UK in 2016 as well, and you can if you follow her on socials, you can tell that she works hard, like everything she's achieved, and for her to get to Eurovision and then get to the final was a massive achievement for her, and I feel like one of her life goals, and it just makes me so happy to see that she got to where she wanted to be, and I just feel like it's something to aspire to, and never give up, keep persevering, and you will make your dreams come true. So yeah, and the song's a banger, and the staging is
a
amazing.
banger.
It is a bop. I will say that it is a bop.
Oh my god, yes.
Although I have to say, you know what? Like Sarah Alto, she is usually used to having a bit of a curse, or not a curse, or like a kind of a pattern where she finishes second. I mean, she did kind of carry that on because she came second last.
Oh my god, I just remembered something really embarrassing about that. I have a story about that.
Please.
It was Sunday, the day after. Guess who ended up being on my flight from Lisbon to London?
Oh.
And on the baggage belt, guess who made that joke?
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, why?
It blurted out, but she laughed. She laughed with me and gave me a hug with it as well.
Oh. Sarah Alto is just
Awesome.
she's just amazing. Like, she's just so lovely.
No, she's happy. Like, she's happy because of the fact that, when you've been wanting this moment for so long and you've managed to get it, you just end up on a high, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what it was, and that's what that feeling was. And I think I remember just walking out of, like, after I got my baggage, and it went off, and I said bye to her afterwards, and just making my own way.
She's just one of, like, I think she's one of the most personable, like, people to ever go to Eurovision, with the exception of Leslie Roy. I think them two have been, like, the most engaging with the Euro fandom. For that, we have to, like, give them props for that, because that is fantastic.
Okay, so my third place is Au Jardim by Claudia Pascoal and Isaura. I am
Oh,
incredibly bitter this came last. I think
Yes!
it's beautiful.
oh yes.
I think it is stunning. I think it is art. Honestly, I prefer it to Amor Pelos Dois, and I know that might be sort of sacrilege to a lot of people.
Oof.
But it feels like a more sort of... It's got that same sort of subdued feeling to it, but it's got that slight sort of modernness to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it just feels so sort of stark and beautiful, and the way they staged it with all the lamps around them, I think, is incredible. I love the meaning and the story behind it. And yeah, I do not think this should have come in last place. And I am incredibly sad that it did.
I can definitely get behind that, yeah.
So my second place is a song that I actually was listening to earlier today. And it's a song that for me almost sums up exactly why I love Eurovision so much. And that is Vyslatnia by AWS.
Oh, God.
Amazon
And the
Web Services.
reason why I love this song so much is that if you were to put it down on paper, I would not be interested in listening to that. It's Hungarian metal shouty music, and I normally look at that and go, yeah, that's not going to be my thing. And then I hear it, and it's absolutely my thing, and I completely buy into it. Again, I mean, I don't like the story behind it, but it feels so passionate and authentic, and you really feel the sort of emotions that they're trying to portray. And I think that's kind of a theme with all of my top three, which may give you a hint to what my number one is. And also, there's something just so fantastic about the guy crowd surfing, about the pyro everywhere, the guy just sort of running around the stage. It felt like a proper rock concert to me, and I loved it.
Yeah.
So my number one is, and this is one of my favourite songs of all time as far as Eurovision goes, in just sort of how it just captures the moment that it was written at. So my number one is Non mi avete fatto niente by Mometta and Fabrizio Moro. Like I say, I think it just perfectly captures that moment of history. It captures the fear and the anger and the sadness and the hope. The lyrics are just beautiful. I fell in love with it as soon as I saw the music video, where you've kind of got all of those different clips and you've got them dancing in front of it as silhouettes on the screen, and I just completely adored it. And I think the way that they staged it with the words in all of the different languages coming up on the side, I think just really reinforced the message that it was trying to get across. And I completely bought into it. I was completely infatuated with the entire song, and I still listen to it a hell of a lot now. And I think it stands up. I felt sort of transported back to that moment in time when the sorts of events that they were talking about were the things that we were worried about as a society, and the things that we were experiencing at the time, and that sort of fear and worry and anxiety, but also knowing that we can do better. And I really, really love that about that song. So yeah, that's my top three.
I just want to interject, because I kind of want to give this an honorable mention, because when I was watching it for Eurovision again, I just feel like the times that we're in, it hit me, and previously it hadn't, and it wasn't a song that I'd connected with prior, but watching it on Eurovision again, I really connected with it. I don't know if it's to do with stuff that's going on around the world now. But yeah, really hard hitting and really relevant to like any time in history, really. Or a song that should have done a lot better with the juries than it did.
That's true. I think,
Yeah,
the juries did seem to
definitely.
kill that off for some reason. Which is, you'd be surprised, though, because a lot of the time, sort of, juries tend to love Italy. So I wonder, like, there obviously just must have been something that was lost in translation or in something that might have happened in the jury final or something that might have caused something to happen. I don't know, but... Yeah. So, my number 3... Okay, I think none of you guys have seemed to like go for ones that were in the semi-finals. I don't think.
See, I was just going by my Eurovision again ones, and actually, to be honest, I'd have had "For You" by Iriau in my top 3, but I was going by the grand final.
I knew, because I was about to say, like, where was Iriau? Especially like after you posted
Iriau
that.
would be in my number 2 spot, so that would bump AWS down to 3rd place, and then Ojardim to 4th in my overall ranking.
Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. I could do with that. But yeah. So
If you want to hear my rant about why Iriau were great, listen to our episode on
Yeah.
non-qualifiers.
yeah, because honestly, that is an episode that I think you probably should listen to, because we seem to revisit 2018 quite heavily in that episode. So please do check us out there. But yeah, so my number 3 is Latvia, Laura Risotto and Funny Girl. And
Ooh.
I really like it because, okay, it wasn't necessarily my favorite in Supernova when it first got selected. However, I think, like, there's something about, like, the sort of silky smoothiness of the song, and it's just something that's so captivating about it. I think I don't know, there's just something about the sort of darkness of it, but still kind of, like, sexy, sultry, whatever, smutty, that kind of thing. It just seems to capture that song kind of perfectly. And I mean, I kind of like the lyrical content as well, about basically being friend zoned, essentially. That's what it's like. Of course, there are some other songs that I have enjoyed, such as Walk Along from 2015, that kind of deal with the same sort of subject matter, so I guess there's a bit of a trend there. But no, it is a very good song. I do think that it was a little bit messy in terms of the staging, just because she was kind of on her own. It was like there could have been a lot more done, I think, from the staging point of view, but I think in general it was a really, really good song, and I think it just should have been sort of commended a bit more. And it's a shame because it came 12th, I think it was, so it came close to qualifying, so it makes it just that ever a little bit more bitter. My second place is, this might come as a surprise, I don't necessarily know, but it's North Macedonia, IQ Lost and Found. Yeah.
I'm screaming my frustration right now about that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Because
there's a lot of frustration.
yeah, because in the studio version, like, okay, when IQ were first released as like the Macedonian entrant, I was like, okay, right, we'll just wait and see what happens with the song and see what happens. And then the song came out in the studio version and I fell in love. I thought it was absolutely amazing. I thought, oh my god, like the blend of the reggae and like the sort of poppiness of it. I think it was really like, you'd never hear that in any other context but Eurovision. And I think that's something that definitely had something going for it. And not to mention as well, it was kind of just a bit of a bop as well, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to Lisbon and that dress.
No.
It was a backwards coat. It wasn't a dress at all.
But then it made her tits look really saggy. Like, it just like,
you know,
there was so much that could possibly have been done to like elevate it, and then it kind of like MRT just completely missed the mark with it, which is such a shame because like it lended itself to really intriguing staging, and then it was just a bit like lackluster, and I was like, oh. Okay, right. So I'm not surprised that it didn't qualify, but I am a bit sad that it came second last. I did think that was a bit harsh, especially when you have songs, you know, like Azerbaijan. Sorry, Tim, I know that like hits hard, but
No, both of them hits hard, and if you do one or the other, it hits me both.
yeah. Fair enough. I mean, that's not bad, but yeah. Yeah, and then my number one, if you follow my Eurovision account on Twitter at VisionRory, this will come as no surprise, but my number one is O Jardim, Claudia Pascoal, and Isaura. Oh my god, like the way that people have slept on this song, it irritates me so much. Like, literally. There's something about, okay, like it's very intimate, and like that's the whole point. And I think a lot of the time when songs that are like very kind of quiet and intimate and kind of deliberately like minimal, people don't seem to get it because it seems like, oh, it doesn't go anywhere. It does go somewhere. It just goes to a place that you're not used to it going. And like this, the song itself, it's so good. If anyone has ever listened to London Grammar, Hey Now, please listen to that song, please, if you haven't, because it's a very good song. But I draw a lot of comparisons between the two of the songs in terms of the structure, because like it kind of goes very sort of quiet, and then it kind of builds up in the chorus, and then it goes back down again, and then in the second chorus it kind of just like explodes a bit, like it, but in like a very sort of delicate way. And like the way that it was staged as well, I think the lights were fantastic, and like when kind of the beat comes in the second chorus and it all goes that little kind of turquoise green, like that's a moment in itself.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm incredibly bitter that the song came last in the final, and then even again at the Eurovision again, jury results, it only came 19th. Like it came so close to beating Sweden, and it didn't beat Sweden, and I was just like, huh. Y'all are still really sleeping on this, aren't you? Like, wow. Honestly, I mean, I think literally O Jardim, because I remember going back through my Spotify sort of listening habits at the end of 2018. O Jardim was my most listened to song, not only of 2018 but also of 2019. So
wow,
like that's saying something, and like this is coming from someone whose number one Eurovision song of all time is 1944, so this could be coming for 1944 for all we know. Who knows at this point?
Ooh.
I know, but yeah, so I'm incredibly bitter that it came last, and I really just hope that whoever's listening to this has taste and actually decides to listen to O Jardim and think it's very good, and I will not hear anything different. But yeah, just so kind of just looking at kind of other bits of 2018. Obviously, Rosie was talking about the lack of an LED stage. Actually, like, what did you think about not having an LED stage? Like, did you think like it helped to accentuate some of the songs, or like kind of, or did it just kind of make a thing? Because there was a big kind of controversy around it at the time, I remember.
I feel like it led to more interesting stagings, and I kind of agree with Rosie that every few years, like maybe every 5 years, we should have a year with no LEDs, because it leads to some really interesting and creative staging. Granted, it has also led to some not so good staging. North Macedonia.
Need not reminding.
But yeah, I feel like there's some stagings that we got in 2018 that wouldn't have existed had LEDs been around, say like Moldova. And possibly even Ireland, because they may have just had the dancers on an LED backdrop. Instead they had to bring them on stage. So yeah, I feel like it really helped to enhance songs that may have struggled otherwise with the LED. Because I think prior to seeing the stages, I don't think anyone from Ireland or Moldova had a shot at qualifying. And they seem to be the two songs that really benefited from no LED. I'd say Lithuania as well, actually. Like those three.
I think Lithuania did like they did well, as in the sense that like they were able to kind of include like the hologram thing bits, because the projections, I think if they didn't have the projections, I think it really would have like sort of killed the sort of intimacy of the staging, I think.
Yeah. So like They're kind of like three that I feel like really were helped by the lack of LED. I want to say Ojardim as well, because like there being no LED made it like, and the staging being quite ambient, it helped like get into like the mood, I guess, like of the song. And I definitely enjoy it more live than I do when I listen to it on, like, say, Spotify. So yeah, I'd say the no LED should have helped Ojardim as well, although televoters and the jury just didn't seem to go with it, but I would have thought they would have done.
How dare they?
Yeah.
Guess I was wrong.
I think some of the success of the no LED thing came from the stage design as well, and having those two bridges. Because I think a lot of the songs that were the most successful either used props to be successful, or they used the set that we had, and they used what was given to them to some really, really great effect. And I think for me, probably the biggest thing, I know we've talked about it already, but the way how the bridge in Together sort of was an allegory for the Halfpenny Bridge in Dublin. I felt that really brought something that was so special to it. I think there are probably a couple of songs that suffered from the lack of LEDs. I think the biggest one for me is probably Mercy, because I feel like they would have done something really cool with that. And I can sort of picture sort of having the music video almost projected behind them. But I do feel like ultimately it was a really positive thing. Yeah, I would really like to see it be done a bit more often, but with the caveat that, yeah, you really do need to put a lot of thought into how the stage could be used otherwise.
For me, it really varies because it depends on the way the song was meant to be staged. So let's look at Germany and Malta. Even though there was no LEDs, they ended up bringing it themselves anyways. So
completely just circumvent everything.
Yeah, circumvent. I mean, I was there when they were doing the rehearsals. Germany had theirs in the big deflatable screen, and it was massive and deflated within 45 seconds. I don't know how it deflate. I don't know how it deflated in 45 seconds, but it did. What I would say that is, I kind of agree with the sentiment that once in a while it is nice because people are thinking outside of the box the way they should stage a song, and also the fact that Eurovision is a singing contest in the first place. So vocals over staging, but then again, the staging is for the elevating of the performance. So it kind of depends on the song, but you get what you get, and everyone stepped up, and the fact that they were able to save some money without having to worry about LEDs is kind of good.
Yeah, I like 2018's like way of making people think outside the box, because obviously, like, we've had years before where there hasn't necessarily been an LED, for example, like in 2010. But the elevation from 2010 to 2018 shows that like delegations now know how to like stage a song that doesn't necessarily rely on like big bombastic staging. Obviously, countries such as Sweden are exempt from that when they decide to bring their own entire thing from Melfest, but that's a story for another time. I did like the way that it made countries think outside the box though in terms of their staging, because I personally don't think, imagine for example if Fuego had an LED screen, I think that would have actually completely ruined the song. I think it, like, the way that like the smoke and the light, like the tricks between light and smoke, and to kind of mirror that sense of sort of fire and that kind of thing, it elevated it to a completely new level. And then I think another one that really sort of benefited well from that was Albania, Ugent Bush Pepa and Mal. I think, like, again, I think it was a song that a lot of people did seem to write off pre-contest, and then when people started to see the staging, it just kind of completely changed. I think it really helped to elevate it to a whole new level, and I think props where it's due. some other countries didn't necessarily use it to their advantage. In this case, I'm kind of talking about Belgium, because that was a little bit of a train wreck in terms of its staging, which is a shame because the song itself was fantastic. And to an extent, I'd also maybe say sorry as well, because I didn't necessarily understand what the whole point of the diamond was. I think that was a bit unnecessary, because she could have just like sold that on her own, walking around the stage, especially how she did after the stage invasion. She could have done so much more rather than just have the diamonds on stage. But if you want to talk,
UK and Australia used the same staging and just turned it over horizontally. Change my mind.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh.
They literally used the same prop. Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear. But I did like that, and I do hope though that future hosts do have that chance of like creating a no LED stage, because it's controversial, but at the same time it helps countries who wouldn't necessarily think of doing like staging without LEDs in a really intriguing way. But yeah, just kind of we wrap things up a little bit. If Portugal was to host again in the future, like what do you think they should sort of keep from Lisbon 2018, and what do you think they should sort of go back to the drawing board for?
I'll start with the host. Bring back Daniela and Filomena. No one else.
Definitely.
Just those two. It's enough. Also, I like the no LED, but I kind of hate the contradiction that they did the no LED in Eurovision 2018. And then also when we get to Festival de Canção 2019, it's LEDs galore. Please make up your mind, Portugal. Another thing I'd suggest is just for everything else, just do what you did, but maybe focus more on the little intricacies. I know that was your first time to host. I know that there's some feedback that, like, you know, some of the venues were like too far away from each other, but you know, it is what it is. You get what you get. But, you know, work on the little intricacies next time to like perfect everything per se, to make everything like a more enjoyable experience for the people who's on the ground. If that didn't make sense to anyone.
Okay, yeah, I get you now. I was like, wait, what? No, it's all right. I mean,
yeah, because I was there in Lisbon, and I was like, okay, I really enjoyed the shows, but everything else, there's just like little things. They didn't bother me as much, but there's just some that's like, you could use some work on these things per se.
If Portugal were to host again, I feel like they should keep the no LED thing. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but it's just an idea that I really liked. But I also feel like it's an idea that worked really well in Portugal, but I feel like in some other countries it may not work as well. Because I feel like with Portugal, you have like a very much, even with their national final, you get a sense that it's all about the music, and the staging comes secondary to that. And so I feel like somewhere like Portugal, it would really work. So keep the no LED thing. I would make it 2 hosts instead of 4, because I feel like sometimes when there's too many hosts, like the chemistry doesn't gel.
yeah.
And I feel like with 2, it's easier for them to just bounce off each other and it feel quite natural. So stick to 2 hosts, and yeah, that's really my thought.
I feel like I agree with a lot of what both Tim and Jazzy have said, but I think the one I loved the way Portugal hosted, and I would be very happy to have a very similar year again. And on that topic, I think the one thing that I would really want them to keep is the fact that they clearly loved hosting. They've been waiting to host for 53, 54 years. And that passion and that joy that they were finally getting it really came through to me. And keeping that same passion would be my thing. Just, you know that they wanted it and they loved hosting it. And that same sort of joy would be something that I would really like to still have.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could definitely say like Portugal had like such a relaxed show. Such a like, I don't know, like I like if they could keep that vibe, I think for the next time they host it, I think that would be amazing. I would love that. I think, yeah, like the rest of you guys, I think 2 hosts would be better, just because it seems more like logistical, and it just gives better chemistry. yeah, and I think in terms of things to change, I wouldn't actually say change anything. I think literally 2018 was one of the few years for me, at least. I don't know whether or not if anyone else agrees with me, but there was actually almost like no issues with it. I mean, obviously I wasn't there per se because I wasn't in Lisbon at the time, although I really wish I did because it was very close and I guess I could have gone because it was very cheap. But I think they just need to kind of carry on what they would have done in 2018, and I think definitely for sure 2018 will go down as one of the most sort of popular years in Eurovision for a long time. I think many people will continuously come back to it in the future. But yeah, so do we have any sort of final points on 2018 and the whole retrospective before we finally bury it so that we don't have to talk about it again?
Yeah, just, send a really good song in a few years' time so we can go back to sunny Lisbon, please.
Oh, please do.
But yeah, we want to go back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Portugal's been sending taste, though, recently.
Take us back to Lisbon.
Yeah. But
There's one thing I feel like I want to say, but this it's a very sort of timely thing, and it's also not an especially positive thing, but Waylon, that staging aged so quickly.
Oh my god.
So badly.
It's a shame because I really like that song. Like, the song itself is okay, but the
Which one?
Waylon.
Oh god, don't even. Don't.
The staging is
Especially
horrible.
right now, at this moment in history, that was not a good look.
No.
That I feel like if that happened now, like in the midst of all that, that song would have been disqualified.
Oh yeah, I think they'd have to tell them to change the
Like-
staging somewhat. But
With Waylon, like I saw my face when he was the last one called, and I kind of grinned.
you're like,
you know that grin when Chrissy Teigen, I think it was the Golden Globes or the Emmy,
oh, I know the one you're
when
on about.
she was grinning.
Malta was robbed.
Yeah, it was the 10th. Okay, here's the story. It was the 10th qualifier, and I was like thinking, I said, "Oh, might be Russia because they don't fail to qualify," and then I said, "Oh, Malta." I said, "Oh no," and it wasn't either one of them, and I cried, and I like, what on earth is going on?
We're like, ah!
As a person who really quite likes Taboo as a song, that hurts me on a deep spiritual level.
Okay, that Taboo's music video, I think, should be turned into a full-blown movie because there's a lot of context in there that we have no idea what was going on. Oh dear. But yeah, so that kind of brings us to the end of this edition of that Eurovision podcast. I'd like to thank Rosie, Jazzy and Tim for talking about this fantastic year. It's been a really good year, and it was lovely to kind of watch it back again with Eurovision again, so thanks a million to the Eurovision Again team for bringing it up again, because it was lovely to kind of just sit down and have a nice rewatch and have a lovely sort of nostalgia trip to only about 2 years ago. So please do follow us on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at That Euro Podcast. We're also on Spotify as well, so please do give us a follow so then you're always notified for whenever a new episode comes out. And in the next couple of episodes, we'll be talking more about specific countries again. If you have any ideas, of course, about what we should be talking about, please do let us know, because we're always open to suggestions. And yeah, just shall we say goodbye, everybody?
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.